Thanks a lot, Nick. Okay, I've got a big problem now that Nick has said absolutely everything that there is to say. And I'm also going to borrow loads of your language and ideas there, especially the wicked problem. And I'm going to show you my notes. Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation, by the way. I've been invited to talk from a content perspective. And when I got the invitation, I thought, wow, what exactly does that mean? Am I talking as a content provider, which is part of the brave new speak of publishing, or am I actually talking from the point of view of a learner who is using this content? So I've decided to talk from both. And there's kind of two things that I'd like to talk about, but I want to start with this idea of the wicked problem and possibly the simplification of the solution to the wicked problem. So, apologies now for being very reductionist, okay? And this is where I have on my piece of paper, it says tension. And the tension is between what we could see as being, at the moment, the state of affairs, and this is where I'm going to be really reductionist, okay? Where we have a tendency, and it's only a tendency, and it's only in part of this whole world of digital learning content, but there's a tendency to simplify, to make things ever smaller. The screens are getting smaller, for example, but there's a tail that's wagging the dog, and this tail is scoreability. Everything needs to be measured. Everything needs to be black and white. In order to be able to write an activity which is black and white, it has to be very controlled. So we have the word lists, the grammar syllabus, broken down, ever more fragmented into the McNuggets of Scott Thornbury. And there is a tendency there for digital materials to become ever more controlled and somehow limited and restricted. And yes, if you're a language learner, you need repetition, you need automatization, being able to make certain parts of the language mechanical is useful. But for me, the tension there is with a whole other side of the scale of language learning that seems to be completely missing. So it's like, what happened to exposure? What happened to intrinsic interest in the input? What happened to acquisition? And what happens, I think, in this kind of reduced idea of what digital material is, where everything is very controlled, is you don't get a chance to listen to something with vocabulary which is possibly random and above your level. You don't get a chance to read texts because you're interested in them, because it's a pleasure to read these texts. And hey, so there's a present perfect in there before you've actually done it in your gap fill. Does it really matter? And so it's not missing. It is out there. Like, we all know learners who learnt English through songs, right? You know, listening to whoever it was. Someone today was saying something about their wife who'd learnt through listening to what, Paul, was it you? Yeah. Through one album in particular or something?
In excess kick.
Yeah, okay, so, that kind of did that intensive listening, binge listening. It's a fantastic way to learn. And we don't seem to be tapping into that. Binge reading, it's kind of the extensive reading. We all know that the literature says that extensive reading works. But what is extensive reading in digital language learning content? It's kind of, but maybe we don't need it to be in the content. And so there's this question comes up of maybe we don't have to provide content, maybe we should be curating content instead. So rather than a content provision problem, it's more of a content curation challenge, that maybe this might be one side of a solution to the wicked problem. And so maybe we can guide our students to explore the language that's out there already, how that would fit in with an LMS or a course or a platform, I don't know. I have this idea of kind of a coach bot.
Nice.
Do you like my coach bot?
Yeah. Great.
It's mine.
Steal that.
Yes, trademark, coach bot. And this kind of comes to another side of, I think, of something that's missing in a lot of digital platforms, apps, etc., is the idea of agency. That as a learner, personally, maybe it's me, I'm a bit stubborn, a bit like to have my own way, but I like to choose a pathway through the material. I like to have a bigger picture, not just swipe, next exercise, swipe, next exercise, even though it might be a Tinder thing to swipe your way through those exercises. But so my personal experience of doing online courses and MOOCs, etc., is that the MOOC that keeps me there all the way to the end is the one that shows me a bigger picture and lets me choose my path through the material, lets me choose what I want to do, what I don't want to do, and it still gives me a high score. Even if I don't watch all the videos and read all the articles. And I'm there at the end and I've loved it, but it's that idea of, okay, adaptivity. So, you do, the program tells you, oh, you need to do more of this, oh, you go back and do that again. Does the program ever say, oh man, you look bored? Oh, you've been doing simple past for the last 10 screens. How about something different? You've never listened to a podcast. Would you like one of these? Or switch now to some video. You've been doing audio for the last week. Maybe you'd like to do something different. And so that you have this coach bot that doesn't just say, you failed at this, try again. You failed again, try again. And you get into this thing that, if you're a gamer, is great. You will try again and again and again and again and again against the frustration to level up. But have you seen a language course where you want to do the gap fill again and again and again and again and again to level up to the next grammar item? So, that is where I'm going to leave it, I think, with the idea of the coach bot.
Like it.